I have snowboarded at over 130 US ski resorts from the East Coast to the West Coast. I've ridden basically everything we have to offer here in the United States. And luckily this last winter, I was able to go over to Europe and ride 4 different ski resorts: St. Antons, Solden, Soretta Montafon, and Laux. So we rode in Austria and Switzerland, and it was an incredible time going over to Austria and Switzerland and getting a little bit of riding in. It was a ton of fun. It was the first time I ever left the United States. That being said, I wanted to make a video kind of going over the differences between European ski resorts and American ski resorts. Because believe it or not, there is actually a ton of differences between the two. Starting off with the first one, which is there's no lines or like waiting in line. It's just like shove your way onto a gondola, onto a chairlift. In America, we have these nice little lines that say like, please alternate and like take turns. It's like a nice, I mean, it's a very slow moving line, but it is organized. So we usually have someone in there like being, okay, your group go, like your group go. But in Europe, it literally was like, my group's back. Okay, we're on this gondola together. And like everyone was just like, get up the lift. Get up the lift, and it's just pushing, and like it was unique, and I heard about it, but until you experience it, it's totally different. Almost as different as the trail maps. Now here in the United States, I feel like our maps are just like meant for like a 6-year-old to ride. They're super simple. And then when I looked at Solden's map, I was like, what am I looking at? I'm so confused. Especially being from America, I was so lost. I was like, okay, I understand that you can come down this area of the mountain, but like, what do you mean is what you want to run? It looks like that's a whole bunch of the mountain. And what it really means is like there's one groomed area part coming down that part of the mountain, and then the rest of it is off-piste riding or like backcountry riding or like not groomed, like you ride at your own risk type of terrain. I'll get into that in a second. So these long, like thin lines and numbers are runs, but they're like these groomed runs, and it's just different. And it took me a minute to really start figuring them out, but also like I do just think in general they're like a little trickier to understand and to read. So if you're going to Europe and you're from the United States, study the maps. And if you're from Europe going to the United States, you're gonna be able to get anywhere. You're gonna be like, oh, this map is for children. And once again, I struggled with the map so hard because the runs are so different. So I mentioned it earlier, but you have these like groomed runs that are going down these like epic rad mountains, and like that's the run where a lot of the riding in the United States is like broken up by trees and cut runs and stuff. And then we have like our bowls, and you can like ride the bowls, but even on the maps they have like runs down. But out there it's just like, okay, you're up here, go down and like make the right choice. And I hope you looked at what you were going over on your lift, because you could get off a chairlift and ride like the gnarliest chute that could be an avalanche chute, and like you got to know these things, or it could go like to a 1,000-foot cliff, and like no one's gonna stop you from riding. There's no fences or gates, and it's just like if you're gnarly enough, go ride it, which is really cool. And that's what I took advantage of. And I was riding like spines and epic powder drops and jumping off like avalanche bunk. It was like the craziest, funnest experience that I've ever had on resorts, because no one was telling me no. I was like, I can do anything. But once again, there's a lot of risk with that, so make sure you're avalanche trained. And I was riding with a bunch of locals, and like don't just go there and just do whatever you want, because there are serious real life consequences. But here in the United States, the resorts baby you so much, and they make sure that you're not ducking ropes or going where you're not supposed to go. And there's backcountry gates and stuff here in the United States, where in Europe it's just a free-for-all. And that's why when I looked at the maps, I was so confused. I was like, where are the actual runs? And it's like, no, that little sliver is like the actual run, and then everything else is like rad powder fields. Now another thing that I saw a lot less of, like in the United States, they're all over the place. You can't go under a ski resort without seeing one. But in Europe, I didn't really see them anywhere. And that's an evolution sticker. If you guys live in Europe, just know that these things ship worldwide for free. If you live anywhere in the world, I ship these to you for free shipping, which is really rad. But the evolution sticker, we have the snowboard version, of course, as well as a ski version for you guys. You just throw it on the side of your helmet, let everyone know you're part of Team Buckhouse. It really does support the dream. It's how I do afford a lot of my traveling. Thankfully for this trip to Europe, Clue covered it, my binding sponsor. Like what a rad, incredible trip that was. And that leads into the next point, is I hear it's a lot cheaper to ride in Europe. Now I ended up having the whole trip covered for me because I'm fully sponsored by Clue. It's one of the best binding sponsors in the game. If you need snowboard bindings, Clue bindings are the ones to get. So I wasn't out there actually doing the purchasing, but I do know that like it's one of the most common things said is that it's way cheaper to ride in Europe than it is to ride over here in the United States. I mean, going to Aspen or Vail like mid-season, you're looking at like $300 for a day pass. Like that is crazy. And before I go any further into this video, I am heading to Finland in November, which is going to be really rad, and I am going back to Austria this upcoming winter. So subscribe to the channel so you can see those adventures, but also I might learn a lot more, make another part 2 of this, or just have more information about riding in the US versus Europe or riding in Europe. And so if I do miss anything out, or if you've done multiple trips and you have more knowledge than me, that's what the comment section is for. Please fill in there, let me know what I got right, what I got wrong, or what other things are different that I didn't mention, because I don't know, I just really think there's a lot of people that want to go travel the world and ski and snowboard, and hopefully this video can give some context to that, because I would have been way less confused with the maps if I was like, oh wait, they're supposed to be really different, and so hopefully I explained that well. Now I kind of mentioned this earlier when I was talking about the runs, but it's like ride at your own risk. Like you can go basically anywhere. I saw a dude literally just was on top of the mountain and he had a paragliding. He was like, take it off here. Like, I just do what I want. And this is like, what? But the one thing that you're not gonna see that you will see in the United States are yellow jackets, specifically at Vail-owned ski resorts. These are like safety patrol guys. I've had my own little run-in with them where I got a speeding ticket, which I know everyone in Europe was like, what? This is ridiculous. But you can get your pass pulled in the United States for doing wrong things or not doing the right things. And from my comments alone, I've learned like in Europe or other places that that's just not a thing that exists. And I will say, I don't even think I saw a ski patroller the entire time I was in Europe. So yeah, the presence of like mountain police or safety guys, like they're just not out there. And I rode some busy areas, especially at Solden. The funny thing though is not having the yellow jackets, something like that, the whole experience on the mountain in Europe versus United States was so much more relaxed. I felt like everyone was there to take in the incredible views, which I mean, some, depending on where you are in the US, the views can be amazing. If you're in the Midwest, just wait till the sunset, that's all you're gonna get. But in Europe, obviously, like the views were breathtaking and amazing. I felt so many people were there just to be in the environment and not, it's the weekend, like grind, go, 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 and get out of my way to me. And I guess the funny thing too is like, despite the lines not having little like feeders and everything like that, no one was hostile about getting on the lift. They were just like, this is what we do, shove, 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 shove. Where in the US, you can like not alternate with someone and they want to murder you. It's like the environment is so more in Europe than it was in the United States. And that could be because over here everyone's like hustle, grind, get it, this, that, I don't know. But it was way more calm. And I'm riding 160 plus days a season, so I really pick up on weird nuances and things like that. Like I basically live on the ski resorts, so I can feel weird moments like that. And if you do want to know where I've ridden in the United States, you guys can check out my progress of riding every single ski resort in the United States at resortskimaps.com. Now this is a resort map of every resort in the United States, but you can also search by country as well and see every resort in the world, which is really cool. I've been playing around with Finland because I'm heading that way, and there's actually like 40 ski resorts in Finland, which is rad. I literally use resortskimaps.com to plan all of my ski and snowboard trips. Check it out, it's really rad. You can even organize it by the season pass that you have purchased. So it's a really fun, cool place thing. You'll go spend hours there. I spend hours on it. I forgot to mention, if you click on the green snowboarders, that shows the video that I've ridden there. And if you click on the red ones, nothing pops up because I haven't been there yet. But if you check out the calendar, you'll see where I'm riding for this upcoming season. Now, another thing that's different, I mean, this could be a culture thing, is like powder lasts way longer out there. If you show up to Keystone on a powder day and you show up at 10, say goodbye to the POW. It's all gone. That first 2 hours, every inch of it is just mowed down. But in Europe, I was riding multiple different sections of the mountain and spending a ton of time at one zone being like, there's so much powder. And eventually I'd move to another one. I'm like, oh my goodness, there's just more powder here. And then like days later after a storm, there's just powder everywhere. And I was like, how is no one riding over here? Why is no one riding this? It was crazy. There was literally powder everywhere. Now, once again, you gotta be careful. You can easily like ride your way right off the resort into the vastness of mountains, and like, gotta be careful. Don't get powder eyes being an American over there in Europe. Like, make sure you're looking and knowing what you're doing. But that's definitely a different culture than in the United States. Everyone, it just gets mowed down in the US. But overall, my experience from riding in Europe, and once again, I've only gone to 4. I'm gonna be going to more resorts and traveling the world and getting more perspective, and I'm so excited to that. And once again, big shout out to Clue, who gave me my first across the world experience, and Cardo is who's taking me to Finland. So a lot of really rad trips and things happening, and my perspective of skiing and snowboarding is just becoming broader and more wider, and I hope that helps me make better videos for you guys. But it is an absolute different experience snowboarding in Europe, and it's different in a good way, and it's got its perks, and I would say riding in the US has its perks. Like they're so different, but there's the same thing like in the US because it's so big. You know, riding on the East Coast is so different than riding on the West Coast, but like East Coast has its benefits, Midwest has its benefits, you know, Colorado is by far the best, and I can't wait to find out more about that over in Europe. So once again, comment down below anything that you know more of or any nuances. Like, I love hearing it, and hit the like button. It does help out the video, and subscribe for more content like this. But with that, Team Buckhouse, thank you so much for shredding with me today, and as always, thanks for watching. Keep evolving. YouTube really wants you to check out the video they're recommending at the end. They hand selected it for you.